take me home tonight. Throwing caution to the wind, I'll take a chance and let you in. Just take my hand and take me home tonight. We defeat all impossibilities. Yeah, you and me. We'll take our hearts and run free into the into the into the running so fast, can you find me in the dark? Oh baby, close your eyes and listen to the beat of my heart. Take my hand, don't be afraid. A love like ours just can't be tamed. Take my heart, just feel the beat. We'll leave tonight and run free into the into the into the
What is up, fam? We are back. Good to be back in the flesh. We got a good topic for y'all tonight. And I appreciate you guys. I want to give a shout out to y'all. Uh, the past live was really good ratings wise, actually. Let me just look it up real quick. I have like a million YouTube tabs open right now, so I know my frames, my CPU's got working hard right now. I just wanted to share my screen with y'all. So let me go ahead and change this to that. Let's go to our channel. Obviously, I'm live right now, but let's go to lives. 47 subscribers, almost to the big 5-0. And then after 5-0, so first of all, I want to appreciate all of you, all 47 of you. I know starting off YouTube is tough, just putting out the content, being consistent. I'm not the best at being consistent, but I try to be as consistent as I can. I can definitely do a lot better, but yeah, that's the goal right now, and goal to hit 50 subscribers. Hopefully by the end of the year, we got a month left, and then after that, hit 100, and then 1,000, and it just keeps going from there. But we're on a pretty good path. So my last live, as you can see, it has 100 views, which is crazy. So I want to thank y'all. Like some people, well, you just look at the my past ones. Big one for pretty good size viewing for the how it became Red Pill Live, but you see most of them depending on kind of what it's actually about. And as I kind of do more somewhat clickbaity uh, cl- not only thumbnails, and I'm experimenting with different thumbnails and stuff like that, but different thumbnails, different topics. Like my AI one, it got four. It has 4 views right now compared to every man should own this shoe. It's 100 views, which is crazy. So I want to shout out to you guys. Yeah, you look at the past. It's like hovering around 10 or so views, some with a little bit more. The TRT one got 676, but that was 3 months ago. So it has had some time to get a little bit of traction. But then getting to hear the tens, the 20s, 40 for my very first one, and it's crazy. We're coming up on a year, and I'm gonna do a special year special towards the end of this year. But I just want to appreciate shout out to you guys, the viewers, and help me create more better content for you guys. Just because I'm not one of those overnight sensations like this guy Hoe Math, but Hoe Math is like he's putting in good work. I appreciate everything he's doing, and then I mean that's the main reason why we're kind of talking about him today and how he's the topic for tonight. Just because literally out of nowhere, I'll kind of go through a little bit of his background, at least from what I know. I've consumed lots of his content over the past 3 or 4 days. I didn't even know who he was just because he first blew up on TikTok. So kind of I guess going into tonight's topic of what is Homa, what is it, who is it, why is it going viral? It's all over TikTok, not so much Instagram because he hasn't really put much of, if anything, I think on Instagram. I think he started a Twitter now, but first started off on TikTok, blew up as you can see in my thumbnail, and he started YouTube, and his YouTube is blowing up. His channel, he's put out crazy 176 videos, which content wise, it's a little bit different from what I'm doing. I'm not putting out. He has some longer videos, and I'm actually going to break down this real. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share my screen real quick. So let's go ahead and hop into it. What is Hoe Math? Who is he? He's a person. Is a he, I assume. Pretty good assumption. But this is his YouTube channel, and I believe he started this. I can go to this info. Yeah, his about. He joined August 5th, so it's literally been like 4 months, and he already has almost 17 million views, almost 200,000 subscribers, and posted almost 200 videos, which is insane. I mean, you compare it to how many videos I have, I've like, and that's including shorts and everything. And at one point, I was putting out YouTube shorts every single day for pretty consistent time basis, probably for like 3 weeks to a month straight. I don't even know how many videos I have. So I have 182, but that's also including my shorts, which I had pumped out a bunch of different shorts. But let's go out to this guy. And it's crazy. Yeah, he's just blown up out of nowhere. He started off of TikTok. TikTok, he blew up, and he originally the one video I posted on my story, the girl who's like, "Men with no hose, where are you?" And he goes, he kind of does a remix of that, beginning with her saying that, and then he goes into his little chart, which is what he's known for, what he's really good at. He draws these pictures, these diagrams of how relationships work and different ways of thinking. So that's kind of how he started off, and this Hoe Math, as he called it, and as he calls himself, that really took off because the girl says, "Where are all the guys with no hose at?" And then he says, "They're right here." They get no hose because all these guys up here, and he's a scale like 10 to 1 of guys, and it's like all women are directing their attention immediately to the top 4 guys. So the top 3 to 4 guys, 10, 9, 8, 7. They're all directing all their attention to there, and then all the guys down here are getting no attention from the hose. So that's kind of how it started. So this is obviously his page. His intro, I think, is really interesting, and it's important to, I think, watch that. Paste them.
Hoe
Oh
Math.
man.
What is Hoe Math? Well, it's math, but it's about hoes. It all started with one question.
Men with no hose. Where are you?
I tried to tell them, they're not listening. The distribution of hoes is out of balance and getting worse, and only one man is trying to stop it. The hoe concentration in this area is out of control, and these men, they don't have any hoes at all. Join the community and help us.
So that's a great intro to basically like who is Hoe Math, what is Hoe Math. Don't worry, Hoe Math, I'm in the fight with you against all these hoes. Not saying all women are hoes. No, no, no. There are many out there, but people don't understand the dating landscape and the dating relationships and how they work in reality versus theory. In theory, what we think is all sunshine and rainbows, but then when you actually go out there, this is like exactly, let me explain it to you like this. Our parents, they lived in this generation above us, right? So in their generation, you see a girl that you like, you ask her on a date, you go out several times, you start getting closer to each other, you eventually get married. It's almost as simple as that. And it's just, you go on dates, you say that you like them, and it kind of, it's very smooth and it's very straightforward. And in reality, well, in theory, it should be, it is that straightforward. It's just like two people liking each other, doing stuff together, and they eventually begin a relationship, committed relationship, and they eventually get married and have kids and have a family, and all the sunshine and rainbows that comes after that. But nowadays, with social media and the internet, all this technology and all these options, people getting on flights, flying from middle of nowhere Indiana to Miami or to LA or to New York or to Dubai, the landscape has changed forever, and it's never going to go back to what our parents was like. Nowadays there's all these complexities, and we're going to go over his most well known, or at least what he's most well known for, is his zones. It's funny, I sent my one of my friends a couple of his videos, gave me no response, and literally today he sends me back the video of zones because he looked on this guy's channel and stuff, because I sent him some stuff a couple of days ago when I discovered him, and he was like, "Dude, this is the most accurate thing ever." And I'm like, "Yes, it is." So that's why I want to talk about this guy, and I love kind of promoting other people's stuff, just because at the end of the day, it's not about me, myself, necessarily blowing up. And sure, that's a byproduct of what I want to do and what I am doing right now. But the primary reason why I'm making this content is to help guys out there. And if other people have very good content, I think it's in my best interest and in everyone's best interest for me to share that, just because I want to get people the best information, best quality information possible. And if there's something new and a new way that someone's doing it, like this guy, Hoe Math, then I think the better for society and for guys in general. Just because if I ran into this, I I basically at this point in my life already understand it, but it's really outlined in a way that's so easy to understand. He's good at. I'll talk about kind of how like he uses this thing called integral theory, which is I'm going to get into that after I kind of go over his background. Sorry, it's kind of all scattered at the moment just because I don't know. I'm really excited about talking about this dude and just kind of like he blew up out of nowhere. He's dropping all these bombs that are truth, and that's what tonight is about because this guy is spitting truth. That's what I'm trying to do the whole time. So, starting off with his background, so he went on a show with Michael Sartain. I believe that was one of the very first shows he's been on. Not his first live. His first live was with, well, what's that guy's name? I'm literally halfway through watching his, with Mac and Murphy, which is another guy. I don't agree with most of his stuff, but some of his stuff is, he tries to be all the science backed stuff, and a lot of it is accurate in a sense, but his interpretations aren't necessarily the most accurate from the data he's pulling. And kind of makes sense he's kind of interpreting more on the progressive side, the left side, more less conservative, more progressive side, just because he is in education. That's how he makes his money. That's how he makes his livelihood. So if he kind of differs from that, it makes sense that he panders to that side just because he might get canceled and there goes his check. So his first live was with that guy, and then he also did where I found him was with Michael Sartain. If you don't know Michael Sartain, he's this red pill adjacent guy. He's really into whole podcast and show off of evolutionary psychology, so dating relationships between people, how to gain status, how to become a successful guy, all of that kind of stuff. He has his own coaching community, which he's very successful at, and he knows his stuff, which I would recommend to check out some of his stuff too. He is red pill adjacent, just very much like myself. He's not very a religious guy, so that's where I differ from him and have a little bit different perspective than him. But a lot of his stuff is really good. But he first appeared on his show, and then I watched it just because I subscribed to him, and I was like, oh, who is this guy? And I've been binging his content for the past couple days. Actually, for the past like two days, honestly. I found him out on Monday, Sunday maybe, somewhere around that time frame, and I literally watched like probably I've already watched like 5 to 6 hours of his content in a matter of like a day, so pretty decent to say the least. So I really wanted to make a live based off of him. So that's kind of who Hoe Math is, or how I found him at first. Who he is, no one really knows who he is because he doesn't show his face. He likes to remain anonymous in some sense. Obviously, you can see his arms and his hands, so looks like he's a white dude. Well, he's obviously a dude, right? But we don't know where he lives. He mentioned in the Michael Sartain podcast about kind of a little bit of his background, because Michael Sartain's like, all right, you draw all these pretty good diagrams, these pictures, you probably have a background in art. And he's like, no, actually not. I liked art in high school, so he kind of developed that artistic skill in high school. He's pretty good at it, but he never made a career out of it. So he said he went to school. He went to grad school. I don't know what his undergrad was, but he went to grad school, I believe, in behavioral psychology or something like that. So that's kind of where the theories and the way people think present themselves in his own work that he does. It's very much based off of that. And he said he has worked several jobs, mainly in like journalism, writing, that sort. But he also mentions in a lot of his videos, and if you watch them, and we're going to break down one of his videos. It's a 20-minute long video, so I don't know if we're going to get through the whole thing, possibly. But look forward in the future, break down more of his videos or check out his videos yourself. Obviously, you have the channel page, the name right here. But he never really held a steady job. He never really excelled in the money making aspect. He quotes several times in his own videos, but he's kind of gone through that stage of self-improvement, noticing that he needed to self-improve because he wasn't getting women, or he wasn't getting the attention from women that he was wanted, or that people who he kind of expected as he grew older. And he kind of went through the process of you graduate high school, you go to school, you socialize with people, you have that college experience. You're supposed to have at least a little bit of success with women. And it seems like he didn't really find that very much relatable to my own story. And then he kind of learned that he had to self-improve. And once he did that, he was starting to get a lot of attention from women, which is very much the same road that I took along my journey. We would call it red pill journey, right? As I mentioned in my previous live. But that's kind of a background of who he is. Other than that, we don't really know too much about him. He says he now moved from the city. Who knows what city he lived in? Now he lives in the woods somewhere. I want to say he lives in Colorado, but don't quote me on that. And I don't want to divulge. Like, I don't have any information to kind of like prove like who he is or anything like that, and I wouldn't really want to. But based off of just what he's said in his videos. But he's taking a break from like society and everything, and he started doing this on the side, and it ended up blowing up, and he's starting making income from that. So he's not working, he's dedicating this full time to doing this and content creating, which I think is great. So I showed you the intro video. The one I want to break down, he has a lot of videos and he's posting a lot, but I actually originally was thinking like how attractive you are, because that was one of his beginning ones, kind of like where he somewhat started blowing up. Actually, I think this one's actually older, so I was correct. I originally wanted to do this one, that's why I had it in thumbnail. I changed it to this one. I originally wanted to do this one because it's a little bit shorter, but this one, it's a little bit longer, but this is the one where he's really gained a lot of popularity. I mean, you can see like almost has 1 million views. This one I watched in the entirety, watched all of these in the entirety, but this one talks about kind of how he breaks down his thinking and his theories. So I guess I can somewhat give a preface on that. All of his drawings and how he thinks and comprehends stuff is based off of this thing called integral theory. So it's made by this guy named Ken Wilber, and then it is a synthetic meta theory developed. It's a synthetic meta theory, and attempts to place a wide diversity of theories and models into a single framework. The basis is a spectrum of consciousness from archaic consciousness to ultimate spirit, presented as a developmental model. So it's basically a diagram or a model, per se, of a diversity of theories and kind of how the evolution of how people think and how people can think. So if you think about it, like people always talk about the different levels of how we access our own brains. Like the very primal level is kind of like thinking about ourselves immediately. This is a screenshot of it. It's called the AQUAL, the all quadrants and levels. I believe that's what it stands for. Integral map. So you start off with the very bottom, the instinctive. So it's basic survival skills you think of. And this one doesn't have it. The one he has in his video, levels, has rough time frame. So say this instinctive one, I'm just throwing out a number. It's like 10,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, when we were Neanderthals or something like that. I can't remember exactly. But that's our basic instincts. We think about ourselves. We think of we're hungry, we're thirsty, we need shelter, that basic stuff to protect ourselves. And then you kind of, as you go up the different levels of thinking, you go out from just thinking of yourself to the next step, which is you think of more tribally. So there's other people around you, think of more of in a society sense. They also have these survival needs to be met. Let's maybe like first you're aware of that, and then the next step would be, hey, let's work together to meet both of our survival needs. And this goes all the way up to the top level is ironist or something, or possibly magician. I can't remember the entire levels. He only went up, the Hoe Math in his video, he only went up to magician, which is I believe level 9. Level 10, or the one at the very top, might be the ultimate one. He didn't really talk about that, but magician, it's like put this in a very simple perspective. That's why he has a full 30-minute video on it, just to break it down, because it's very complex. But the very top level, if you put things in perspective, it's like you watching yourself, watching society, which within society, you have all these different people also watching other people. So it's pretty confusing and gets really complex really quickly. But it's a really interesting way of looking at stuff, and you can kind of see where you're at level wise. A lot of people get stuck in certain levels when they're just kind of thinking either about themselves, maybe not strictly at a level one instinctive level, because that'd be kind of sad. But and he talks a lot about the guy Hoe Math in his videos. He talks a lot about how people get stuck in some of these levels, and because they get stuck in those levels, they result to a lower level of thinking. So certain behaviors result and stem from lower levels of thinking, and certain reactions for people stem from these lower levels of thinking. Whereas if we just level up our level and the way we think, then we can see things from a more holistic, different perspective where we would potentially behave differently, yielding a different outcome or result. So that's his basis for kind of what he's doing. Integral theory, Ken Wilber, equal integral math. So enough of the. I know for some people that's not really exciting. For me, it's pretty interesting because I'm getting more and more into psychology and stuff like that. The way people think. One of my good friends that one of my friends from back when I was growing up, childhood friends. That's I was trying to think of that word. He studies psychology and he's very much we talk a lot about that stuff. So it's very interesting. But let's go ahead and hop into the breakdown. So I'm going to go through a breakdown. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to get necessarily through this whole video. We're already sitting at 36 minutes. I had a super long intro because I was really excited and kind of scatterbrained at where to start with this whole who is this Hoe Math and what is this Hoe Math. So this is one of his more popular videos, if not the most popular, maybe not view wise, but how people know him is this relationship zones. So we're gonna watch probably not all of it, seeing the time, but who knows. Let me get through this ad real quick,
Notion has been the centerpiece of my
and then we can hop to it. Loneliness. That to help you stop having terrible relationships.
Okay, this is the new zones chart. It is replacing the...
So suppose he had an old zones chart. I think I briefly saw it in one of his previous videos, but I can't remember exactly how it looks. This one's definitely a lot more complex, a lot more colorful, a lot more visual from a pictorial and image perspective that really kind of brings out the different parts of this diagram. So think about this. Think about the dating market and the relationships between men and women. Think of it in a specifically a romantic situation. So he'll explain it a little bit, and I'll kind of just give some commentary in between. Possibly at one point, I might just stop this and just kind of somewhat explain it.
The old zones chart. This one is...
So here's the old zones chart. I guess what he calls the box theory. So I believe this he specifically was talking about women. So on the new one, there's like the left side and the right side, which the left side is for women, what guys are thinking about women, thinking about women, and then this is the right, the woman thinking about guys. Obviously, you can see, and I'll explain this as we go into this new one. But let's go back to the old one. All right, so this is the old one. I believe men thinking about women again. Basically the three different zones for women to be in. I actually don't know what that FR stands for, if that means friend or whatever. FZ. I know FZ stands for friend zone, and LT long term, short term. I don't know what FR stands for, maybe friend. But you have your top, your long term, your keepers. The girl's like, she's the girl, I'm gonna marry her type of thing. She's wifey material, as some people would say. The ST, short term, the sleepers, you basically kind of hook up with them, maybe friends with benefits, but long term they might have some yellow or red flags. You're like, I don't want to deal with that on a long term relationship basis, possibly get married to them, no go, then you kind of, but they're attractive enough that you keep them around, type of a thing, or you have a fun time, a good time with them. And then the sweepers are the people where you're like, all right, no, either really bad personality issues, you might be a little bit psycho, a little bit crazy, either that or you're not very attractive at all, but still getting some, you know. So that's kind of that.
Placing the old zones chart, this one is pretty much fully fleshed out. As usual, if you can find something that I missed, please let me know, but I think I got it all. This is a chart that is divided into the way
And you didn't hear anything I said. So I was saying I apologize. I had my computer audio going on at the same time as my microphone, so you're probably getting double audio. So whenever this is playing, you make sure I mute my mic. So I'll replay it.
that is divided into the way that men categorize women and the way that women categorize men. Men have one set of values. Men add up what we think about your looks, your personality. We subtract how much availability you're giving to other men. And then here I drew a cabinet, which is the male version of the galaxy, because there are other things that can make women more and less valuable to men, but it's not very much. These many, many things can make a big difference, a big impact on how women like men. But over here, it's not that big of an impact. So this is basically the way that men decide how much they value.
All right, stop there for a little bit of a commentary. It's 100% true. Like, you've asked any dude, obviously on the top of the list of what he looks into a woman is like, first she needs to be attractive to me. Like, all else fails, like, it's like the number one thing that is important to dudes and to guys. Like, you could be the best girlfriend or the best woman ever, take care of me or whatever, do my laundry, not only stuff like that, like pay for stuff for me, like have the best testimony ever, just religiously speaking. But I go back to a quote that one of my best friends' dad actually says, and he's a good guy, very successful financially, very good family, very strong in the church as well. And he says, at the end of the day, you can't roll over at night in your bed and kiss testimony. I just died when he said that, just because it's true. It's like, you could be the best girl in the world, but if you're a 1 out of 10 in attractiveness, then sorry, but it's not going to happen. Versus women, on the other hand, it's a little bit different. You still have to be somewhat attractive, but it might not be the most important thing or the highest thing. You can still be a 1 attractive wise and have other things to compensate from it and still land a pretty decent looking girl. But on the other end, it's like, if you're not attractive, like, I'm sorry. That's just how it is. That's how guys are wired. So looks come definitely first. And this also doesn't mean that every guy wants a 10 out of 10. Like, that's where personality comes in second, just because personality matters a lot. And he even goes on to say his personal preferences, like, honestly, I'd rather take an average looking girl with a really good personality than a really hot girl with zero personality. I don't know if I'd necessarily say that myself. I would like to have an above average looking girl, but I would want some good personality as well. Because I've had girls that were crazy hot, crazy good looking, but with zero personality or terrible personality, and they were the worst. Like, they were in the middle section, just to say the least. They were not keepers. That's why I wasn't with them long term. And then he kind of goes, so that's the first two, looks first and then personality, and then also stuff that happens that we find attractive and what really I guess somewhat makes us more attractive, or women make themselves more attractive, more appealing towards men, is them not hanging out with other men and kind of eliminating Obviously this doesn't mean like their dads or their fathers or people they're directly related with, but like these are like their guy friends or guys they hang out with for attention or try to get attention from. If they eliminate the guys from their life, kind of making you the single guy in their life romantically, then it's going to very much be more appealing for the guy. And then he mentions this cabinet, which also parallels with the galaxy on the other side. So the cabinet is all these other things. It's kind of like a catch-all for everything else. So you have your looks, your personality, your like relationships with other guys, and then the cabinet, which is like everything else. This could be anywhere from she was a cheerleader, or she likes certain things, or she likes this kind of music. She's good at cooking. Good at she likes to travel or have fun and stuff like that. Just like specific things for specific guys. Like I know some guys are like, I really want my girl to be interested in sports, and then I'm just like, that's cool. I like to do a lot of sports stuff, but like I could care less if she's like athletic, super athletic, or if she's like really into sports, because like I'm not gonna really hang out with a girl or her necessarily. If she loves sports, then cool. Like yeah, definitely go to sports stuff with you. But if she doesn't really like it, then it's like, all right, I'm just gonna hang out with my guy friends anyway, because that's like what guys do. We watch sports, we eat food, we talk smack to each other. That's what guys do. So this cabinet is the all-encompassing like other stuff that can make a woman marketable and attractive in the dating market. So that kind of sums that up.
Value you. And then once we decide from the best I can get to the worst I'll take where we're going to put you, you kind of end up in one of these boxes. And it can be pretty hard to leave. In order to do that, you would have to either improve your looks or your personality or get rid of the male attention that you have in your life. And you're not going to really be able to do it with this. If this isn't cutting it.
And that is 100% truth as well, just because, like I said, all the other stuff is great, but if you don't really have kind of the first three things, then it doesn't matter all the other stuff you can do. It's great, but it doesn't really outweigh the looks, the personality, and your other male attention or male relationships that you might have. What was I going to say? Think of it as like a weighted average. So it's like the looks are the what weighs the heaviest. Think of like you going for a job or you getting scored for something. Like your experience is probably going to be weighted the most out of anything, and then afterwards it's like, all right, your grades, and then other connections you might have, and then everything else kind of what you like to do in your spare time or whatever. So you kind of compare it to that. Makes a little bit more sense.
For us, this is a big lesson that a lot of women need to learn. You can't overcome lack in this department by wearing a t-shirt that he likes or picking up a hobby that he likes. That's why it's a cabinet. It's very, very small. It makes a small impact. If your cabinet is perfect for the man that you want, it might give you half a point to a point. This is really most of it. Women, on the other hand, they have two sets of criteria that they evaluate men on. They have good guy stuff and bad boy stuff. And this is one of the reasons that there's so much confusion in our culture about what women want, because they say they want good guy things and then they actually go with men who have bad boy things. But the truth is they want both. And
Oh no. All right. We're back. Yes, I was about to say my mic just died on me, but Hoe Math, speak yo truth. Like this is so act. This is what I literally been saying. Like that's why I had my live. I've been talking about this for a year or so, ever since I kind of started making content. But I mean, I made a live about this, like how to be the bad boy and the nice guy or the good guy. Maybe good guy is a little bit better way of framing it, because nice guy is a very negative connotation. But I've been saying this. Women, the chicks, they want both. So you kind of have to have a balance of both. of those kind of traits. Doesn't mean you're all bad boy, doesn't mean you're all good guy, but you, at the end of the day, you need to have the ability to go all the way bad boy or all the way good guy. Like, have that in your arsenal because that's what they like. The bad boy stuff, it's what keeps them attracted to you. And then the good guy stuff is kind of all the nice, the gushy, the comforting ways. So think of the bad boy stuff as like sexual tension, and then the good guy stuff is like love and affection and comfort and security. So think about it, those aspects and the two ways of thinking about it. So on point.
You don't have to choose. In our language, we say, I'm a good guy, or I'm a bad boy, or I'm good, or I'm bad, or this is, but really you can be both of these things. And in order to be both of these things, you have to maximize your physical attractiveness, face, body, height, voice, all the things that you can do, lose weight, get muscle, maximize it, and maximize your masculinity. Dominance, power, confidence, smoothness, which is, I'll explain that later. Smoothness is basically how well you understand women. If you
I would also say smoothness and his connotation. I think of it as like a little more like confidence. Like you're well versed, you're intelligent. You can have a conversation. You can carry a conversation with someone, especially someone in the opposite sex. But kind of what he's getting at is like red pill awareness. Like you maintain frame is what he's trying to say. Just because you're red pill aware as well. Just because you know the reality of situations, especially the relationships, dating relationships, romantic relationships between men and women, like how it really works versus how most of the world, how society kind of views everything, which is like a idealistic or a theoretical, like how this is how the dating market should look and pan out. But in reality, it's very, very different, and this is what actually happens. That's why he's diagramming this out.
can approach a woman and you know what it is that she responds to, she's going to go, oh, you understand women. That's your smooth. That
Goes back to red pill aware, maintaining frame, and this is what Rollo Tomasi says when he says women just want a guy that gets it. Women just want a guy that gets what they're all about, what they're attracted to, what they want to do, how to create sexual tension between them, how to arouse them, how to treat them in certain situations, in all situations. At the end of the day, they just want a guy to get it, just because lecturing a guy and teaching a guy from a woman's perspective is one of the biggest turnoffs a woman could get. That's why if there's a guy and there's a girl kind of like counseling the guy how to get girls, it's like the guy might feel the emotional connection, because I've mentioned this before. This is why a lot of guys, the guys can't really be girls friends with girls on a normal distribution. Majority of guys, just because when they have those conversations with these women, that they feel that emotional tension and that emotional connection, because guys don't have those emotional conversations between one another. We just talk about like I said, sports, driving fast cars, talking smack to each other, like the fun dude stuff, the testosterone boosting activities. So the guy might start catching feels for the girl who's kind of teaching him this stuff, but the girl, it's like, no, like, I'm just trying to help you, like, you're like a brother to me, never in a million years. Friend zone situation.
requires some more unpacking, and women also respond to dark triad traits. This is a big difference between men and women. Men do not need women to have any evil stuff, any bad boy stuff. We don't need bad girls. Some guys like bad girls, but that's a personality thing. Men in general don't need girls to be bad. Women need men to be at least somewhat bad. You gotta be dangerous. You have to have the ability to be dangerous, not necessarily go to jail.
That is accurate as well. Guys, I could have most guys. It's just like at the end of the day, it's like if a girl can be like even like a goody two shoe girl, but she's like really attractive and she has a good personality. It's like I don't need the bad stuff. Like, and a lot of times you can kind of like teach them, type of a thing. But women on the other hand, they have to have some sort of aspect, or like you said, or what like he was mentioning is like you have to have a certain aspect that you have the ability to kind of take over, have your masculinity, your dominance take over in a most likely a survival situation, just because there are very few situations nowadays in the society that we live in that you need to exude like full bad boy status and like totally go primal on someone, as Liver King would say, primal, act natural, right? I love that meme. But you have to have the ability. So, say in a survival situation where you're walking her down the street, it's at night, some guy comes over, pushes you, or attempts to rob you. If you manhandle that guy, you beat him up and you kind of put him in this place, you protect her, and not only her, but yourself as well, you kind of take care of business, then she's going to have the hots for you just because you have the ability and you're able to show her that you could embrace that full kind of dominance masculinity, the somewhat of the dark triad traits. That doesn't mean you go and like kill the guy, or if not necessary, or you go and like commit a crime, or you do all this bad stuff. Even though there are a lot of women that kind of find that very attractive. That's why you have the guys who are like Ted Bundy and these guys in jail that people are writing love letters and stuff to. It's an actual thing, but that's besides the point. That's an extreme situation, and yeah, don't do that stuff.
But you have to be capable of it. And that will boost your bad boy score, which is what you really want. It's better to be all bad and no good than it is to be all good and no bad, because then you end up in the friend zone. So both of these speech and thought bubbles are arranged the same way.
Which is exactly what happened to me my freshman year in college. Because there's this girl I kind of grew up with. She was from my same state, like really like good friends. She knew my like cousins and stuff like that. I tried to be like the very good guy, and like it didn't really like work out. She friend zoned me, and then kind of after my mission, I was still a good guy, but I started portraying more the bad boy, and like I started getting what I wanted out of attention wise, and I was not put in the friend zone. So prime example of that.
The higher up you go, the more it is based in love, which is supportive, public, monogamous, and emotional. And the farther down you go, the less love there's going to be, and the more lust, which is going to be opportunistic, secret, multiple partners at many times, and impulsive. So, of course, a man is going to have lust for a keeper. Of course he is, because that means that he likes the way she looks. But he's going to have a lot of love for her. Way down here, he's going to have no love at all, and it's going to be entirely a lust-based relationship. Sleepers in the middle, where we have what women call situationships, that's where there's some level of emotional connection, but it's not really enough to be the one and only. You're kind of in a middle zone, and the man will say things like, I don't know where I'm gonna be in 3 weeks, like I don't know what my life is. Yes, we do. We do know what our life is. We do know where we're gonna be. We just kind of want to wait for someone who we're.
And that's definitely true as well. I don't have a ton of experience necessarily being in that middle space per se, just because I kind of weed out a lot of women that are kind of like below a certain threshold, where I don't really see, because that's like my intention in dating. Like, obviously, everyone has their phase, especially kind of growing up, and especially when you get a lot of attention that you're not necessarily used to, you kind of more or less go crazy, and what is what they say, but I didn't go that crazy. But I tend to have a certain threshold. It's like, all right, if I don't really see myself like being in a relationship with this person or this girl being my girlfriend, then like I'm probably not gonna mess with her type of a thing. But then also, I guess to combat what I was just talking about myself, my own experience, there were a lot of people that initially I thought were relationship material, but then I kind of found out more of their personality. I was just looking at their looks. Looks wise, they're relationship material, but personality wise, it's like they're kind of crazy, kind of psycho, kind of had a beliefs and ideologies that I didn't necessarily agree with. That I think could be a detriment to a relationship or in a long term relationship. So I guess they definitely slid underneath the keeper section. So I'd say, generally speaking, I never really dealt with. Gotta be honest, maybe like one or two people, but for the most part, it was like a here and above for me. I didn't really mess with anything down here.
We're definitely going to put in here. You got to stop listening to these things. So for women, avoiding getting into these bad relationships is a lot easier than it is for men to avoid getting in these bad relationships. You just have to know how he feels about your looks, your personality.
All right, I'm gonna skip some of the stuff because he repeats his stuff a little bit, but it's all good stuff. So if you want to watch the full thing, then just go ahead and watch it. But let me skip. I want to skip to. It talks a lot about the women's section, which is great. Here comes an ad. Let me just skip this real quick. I want to get to the part where it talks about what women think about guys, because there's that whole matrix right there, and it's kind of confusing. So let's start from here.
Is the cabinet. In here, a woman might have like being good with kids or
So this goes back to what we initially said on the guy side, the cabinet. So it's all the extra, the catch-all category where it's all the extra stuff that a woman can do to appeal to a guy. On the other hand, you notice like there's very it's called he calls it a cabinet because there's not very many things that a woman can do that can kind of at boost points to them just because guys are really simple. We kind of tend to look for the same general stuff in all women. But a woman, on the other hand, he says it's a galaxy, which I think is hilarious, but I think it's accurate as well because there's like a plethora and a ton of different stuff that a woman could like in a guy. Like you have uh, no, it's not in this one. It's in the how attractive you are video, but there's some girls that are just really into like weird stuff in a guy, like a guy who collects Pokemon cards or a guy who's like goth or has gauges in his ears or stuff like that. It's like that's part of the galaxy, but there's a billion things that woman could like you mentioned. You're good with kids, you like cats, you like dogs, you like hiking, you're a granola, as in like you like rock climbing and you want to your life goal is to buy an RV and a van and travel the country and just be nomads. Like some women just really like that, and that's part of the galaxy. So we'll have him explain more of this.
liking pets or having the same hobbies in common or wearing a particular kind of shirt. There's lots and lots of little details in here that don't quite fit into anything else. It's just what fits with her life, what matches with her experience and with her feelings, and it's difficult to really predict what that's going to be. It's very individual for everybody. And this is very
And I'd like to add on that a lot of it, like you said, it stems from kind of how they grew up, how they were raised, the different environment they're in. Because I've dated a number of different girls and from another number of different countries as well, and it's like based off of where they grew up. Say like the basic white girl from Utah, they're used to certain things, so therefore certain things to them are very attractive. That's why you see a lot of Utah girls. They're attracted mainly to like tall, skinny, white, blonde-haired guys, just because that's what Utah is like, And they like the maybe plays football or basketball, is athletic, just because majority of people that's how they grew up. All their brothers played sports. They might have had a brother or two who played college like D1 sports or something like that, and their dad is very wealthy. So a guy who's kind of on the trajectory of becoming very wealthy himself, or maybe even comes from a wealthy family, that's very attractive to a girl from Utah. So it dramatically what consists of anything in that galaxy, and there's no point in kind of like focusing in on that just because it could be a billion different things. You want to focus on the main things, but just to give people's perspective, what is in that galaxy could be anything and everything, but it's all I'd say largely determined kind of like how they grew up and how they were raised and what environment they were raised in.
very individual for everybody too, but this only matters a little bit. And this, if you have what a woman wants in here, it can give you a few points.
Like if you're not particularly presentable, but you're okay, and you don't have a lot to invest, but you're okay, and you have a load of things in common with her, it can boost you up a few points on the good guy score. Again, not the bad boy score. So all of those things in the good guy score, they measure how much the woman trusts you to be able to be there for her and make her look good and have a very public relationship, very public. The more you are a good guy, the safer that she will feel going out with you and being seen with you in the friend zone, husband zone, or the Prince Charming zone. But again, if you have only good guy traits, she's not going to like you enough for any of these zones. You have to have some bad boy traits. And it could be just looking good. That's enough for some women.
All right, yeah, and I think an important aspect was this more public, more secret, or less public, and it's very accurate as well. Just because friend zone, like you're hanging out with them all the time, you're not really romantic or intimate in any way, except for emotionally. But that's kind of like, but you're still seen in public, and then as you're kind of like maybe like you're the tall, jacked guy who's just like a terrible person, or like the average like 6'5", like douchey kind of guy in college or in high school. Treats women like super bad, but he's like super hot and stuff. That's going to be in your like bottom left, and for the most part, you're just going to keep that in the down low. Probably not going to have a relationship with them, or most of the time, he's not even going to like acknowledge that you really exist or you even like associate with each other. You just kind of do stuff on the down low. But that's an important thing to bring up. He's going to talk more about like the bad boy, which we kind of already covered. I don't think there's necessity to go more into detail about that. So I want to skip over into kind of like these different sections. I wonder if he's going to talk. Yeah, these different sections. So kind of to put things in perspective as well, you have starting at the bottom, it's he calls it your ghost, you're invisible, because it's true. It's like the guys who are like not attractive at all and like not nice or like even like interact with women at all. Most women see them as invisible, though not even people. He has this funny experience that he talks about where he was just talking with one of his friends that happens to be a girl, and he wanted to demonstrate this, or even like what gauge how she finds guys attractive. So she goes over to there's this guy, mailman across the street, and he's like, "All right, what would you rate him on attractiveness?" And she's like, "What guy?" And he's like, "The guy right there, across the street." She's like, "Where?" "Oh, is he behind the mailman?" And he was like, "No, he is the mailman." So she didn't even register in her brain that the mailman was like even an option. So think about guys like your Walmart cashiers or your Walmart stalkers, or the guy who takes your order at Pizza Hut or Papa John's or Chipotle or something like that. It's like, to most women, these guys do not even exist because they're not even like, they're not necessarily good looking. They're not, yeah, they're kind of nobodies in a sense, but these people are still people. They're still human beings, but they don't really see them as an option. So that's the ghost level. It's kind of, it's really sad, but that's why I try to create this content to guys like I can honestly say I was never really in that space, but I know several guys and I have several friends kind of in that realm as well, and it's tough for them. It sucks. Like I was not in that category, but even me being a little bit above, like dating kind of sucked for me for a while. So I only can imagine. I can't even imagine what it was like for them. Literally non-existent because they don't even see you as an option. And a lot of women will admit to it, but it's true. And then he's covering up this one section, but you have the bad boy at the very left. It's like your stereotypical bad boy. The one in between that and the nobody is like the mistake. Like, oh, like he was hot enough. Like I kind of made a mistake. It's like maybe like just hook up type of a thing and never see them again, ghost them. And then you have bad, mid. I don't know what that green one is. I can't remember. You have gold digger slash ick. So he has a whole diagram of ick. He's not going to show it in this video, but I think it's really funny. Where guys at a certain level, the girls are most women are attracted to these guys at a certain level, and any guy underneath that is an ick because they're not as attractive as a guy they maybe got with 1 or 2 times. So everything below that is an ick. So gold digger, so he's like investing more into you, maybe like monetarily and stuff, but it's like still not good enough bad boy traits, not attractive enough, not tall enough, that's that sort of thing. Settling, it's like he's not bad per se, he's not good, so it's just like at this point it's like what would you call settling? And then good is like, all right, it's good, he's very attractive, he might not be the nicest guy, but he's a good guy, you know. And then there's Prince Charming, obviously that's ideal. It's like this guy's super hot, has all the good traits, and then he's like very high investment, very presentable. He checks off all the boxes. Like this is your 10 out of 10. Chad, a Giga Chad. And then your husband zone, it's like, all right, this guy maybe isn't the best looking guy. Like you see a lot of guys like this at BYU that are married, or guys in yeah, I'd say specifically BYU typically has that stigma. It's like there's these very like attractive women. And granted, I don't know all these women, so I don't necessarily know what the personality wise, but looks wise, they're very attractive. They're like 8s and 9s, and then they get with the guy. You're like, oh, okay, like he's somewhat good looking, some like not very much. So maybe they're settling type of a thing, but maybe they check off a few boxes or many boxes in the galaxy section, and then maybe they're on a good trajectory for a career, or they have money or something like that. The husband zone's like good looking. Like think of your kind of your average sales bro. It's like you have enough of the bad boy traits, the good looking, but then you're like very like loaded per se. And it's like, all right, your husband trait, your husband zone, and then friend zone. We talked about that. Very high investment, but it's like no non attractive to them whatsoever. No bad boy traits. So let's see if he goes into this a little bit. If not, we actually might end the video there. Just because we're not even halfway through and we're sitting at an hour and 10 minutes. So we'll see.
Any of these zones, you have to have some bad boy traits and more power, all power to women. Up to here. Let's start by going up the good guy scale. If you are less than half good, let's start and recognize you, people to understand. We'll start with.
Okay, so the green one is creep. So it's like this guy, he's like, you exude some good guy. You're a little bit, yeah. So you're not a nobody, but you're like somewhat recognizable, but you're just kind of creepy because you're just trying to give all this attention to a woman that doesn't want your attention.
Nothing. If you have no bad boy traits at all and no good guy traits, you're a ghost. Women don't even recognize you. You're just a thing. If you're the mailman, you're just the thing that makes the mail come, unless you're very attractive, and then you would jump up to here. Let's start by going up the good guy scale. If you are less than half good, if you're below this public line and you have no bad boy traits at all and you're less than half good and you're pursuing a woman, she's going to say, ew, you're a creep. You're not attractive to me at all, and you're not very good. So I don't want to be around you. If you go a little bit above half, women will have a gold digger relationship with men in this area if they have a lot of money. If they don't have a lot of money, it's kind of like ick. It's kind of just, okay, this guy's pretty nice, but I don't feel anything for him. And so it's just kind of gross and leave me alone.
Yeah, so like you said, a lot of money. It's like, all right, he's got a lot of money. He can take me out to nice things, maybe take me out traveling and stuff. But he's like, this guy, he's taking me on dates, but like, he's not attractive at all. And he's kind of giving me attention. So he's not necessarily a creep because I maybe kind of know him, but it's like, he's an ick. And he has another one about attraction, which I originally was going to do, but that one really explains. Now, this is generally speaking, these different zones, the relationship. So it's strictly talking about like different stages or like where you are in a relationship setting or in a relationship or like not existent relationship, the different places you can be placed when you're like somewhat associated with a woman. But he has another attractiveness video, which I'll probably do another breakdown of it because it's really good. It's a little bit shorter, so I could probably go through the whole thing. But that plays into this as well, just because how women see you and your potential for potentially getting into some sort of relationship or like leveling up in this can be enhanced or improved. Your odds could be improved, but based off of the familiarity with who you are with someone. A woman that is unfamiliar with you, doesn't know who you are, just randomly met you, if you're not very attractive or extremely attractive, then you're kind of seen as like you're rated very low in attractiveness or possibility of maybe like going on a date or exchanging numbers or something like that. So if you are familiar with this person, you spend lots of time with them, or you have spent lots more time with them, they're more open to the idea of potentially being in a relationship with you. So they see you as a little bit higher level or a little bit more attractive than, say, someone they met for the first time. So keep that in mind.
It's similar to creep, but a creep is like someone who you would not want to talk to at all, someone who you would want gone from your life, but you'd be aware of him. You would not be aware of the ghost. Ick would be something like, well, he has to be around and I have to tolerate him, but I don't really want to think about, starting a relationship with this guy, unless he has tons of money. And then some women will put up with it. Again, some women, everyone is different. If you max out your good guy score and you have no bad boy points at all, you're going to be in the friend zone. Women will go out in public with you. They will let you buy.
All right. Again, I kind of already went all over a lot of stuff, so let's skip ahead a little bit and see what else he'll talk about. If not, we might just call it there, because I kind of explained this already, just because I think if you want to watch the whole video, I recommend it. Go ahead and watch it to kind of get his interpretations of it. I've already seen it, so it doesn't really make sense for me to watch it again, but for your sake, if you haven't seen it, go ahead and see it, and then maybe you could come back to see my interpretations of stuff.
You have no good guy things at all, sometimes you will be women's drunken mistake. This is kind of like the female sweeper. She might make a mistake and
Yeah, so yeah, I already explained all this, and looks like he's just gonna probably do that for the next like 8 minutes of the video, but I'll give you back some time. This one was a good one. I was very excited to do this one, and I don't get me wrong, I'm excited to do all of my lives, but I was extremely excited to do this one just because it was something new, it was something kind of like trending, and it's very early on. So I looked up on YouTube, and we'll see if this live maybe blows up or gets a little bit more views than the average one. Because I looked up like Hoe Math and kind of like who's done stuff with Hoe Math or done like reactions. There's only like 1 or 2 reaction videos, and one live that Hoe Math did with the not Sam Solik, love that guy, the other guy, and then the interview with Michael Sartain on his channel. So it'll be great. That's about it for tonight. Basics, kind of recapping everything, like who Hoe Math is, what Hoe Math is. It's basically the math behind relationships and kind of demonstrated in a pictorial and diagram sort of fashion. He uses this method called AQUAL or integral theory, and he bases that off of kind of the psychology and the way he develops a lot of his diagrams and to help people understand stuff. And he's blown up on TikTok first, then on YouTube, and it's crazy, and it's going to be interesting to see what he has coming up next. But his most popular videos, as far as like popularity, not necessarily views, his level ones is really big. It has over 1 million views, which I watch. I recommend watching a lot of his videos, but Zones is the one we broke down today. And then possibly in another future live, let's go ahead and break down his how attractive you think you are. I believe that's what it was. And it goes into different attractions, and he's probably going to come out with a bunch of other videos. He has lots of shorter videos as well that we can break down. But I think it's super interesting stuff just because this is exactly in my wheelhouse, kind of what I preach to all y'all guys. Like, if you watch some of his stuff and you've been watching my stuff, you see that's like, hey, Mike was talking about that all along for the past like 6 months or something like that. Just because it's nothing new. And the thing is, everything we talk about in the manosphere and the red pill space, whatever you want to call it, men's self-improvement space, none of it's new. It's been around for 10 decades, centuries, I would say even possibly even thousands of years. It's just knowing how to kind of make your way through life and basically create the best version of yourself. Like, think of yourself. They didn't have video games back in the day. We have video games nowadays, and that's why a lot of guys are just like not really achieving anything in their life, just because back then, and we didn't have education technology like we do nowadays. So in order to like win in life, you had to be like royalty, or be born into a rich family, or to gain a successful education, which was very hard to do back then. Nowadays, you have all that access on basically at your fingertips with smartphones and technology, and you can make what you want of your life. You can be a nobody. You can grow up with nothing. I always tell the story of my mom always tells me the story and tells everyone the story about like our grandpa. Her dad lived in a shack with dirt floors and a tin roof type of a thing. Like, he didn't finish school. He worked as a mailman and as a janitor his whole life. But then one generation next, based off of education and hard work and manifestation and faith as well, from in a religious perspective, and trusting in God, put in the work, trust in God, and we were middle class growing up, so I had a very good life. Things weren't necessarily easy, especially when my parents were going through divorce, so things were a little bit tighter then. But now I'm trying to take it to the next level, create generational wealth with my own family, but still instill them the skills that were necessary in order to get there. Just because my parents and my childhood really set me up very well, as well as my faith. So I just need to pay it forward to my kids, kids, and then also all y'all. Which maybe one day I can say when I'm older, it's like, all y'all are like my kids type of thing. But we'll leave that for a later date, when I'm a little bit older, a little bit more wiser and experienced. But that's it for today. Next live, I'm going to leave it up to a surprise again. I've come up with several topics that I could possibly do. But right before this live, I was watching Patrick Bet-David. He's doing a 2024 outlook, so lots of good stuff there. Got a couple topics from that. So we'll see what we have in store for Thursday night. But as with everything, trying to help you guys get stronger, smarter, healthier, wealthier. So go ahead, fall for more tips, fall for more lives like this, fall for more breakdowns, reactions, positive reactions, not just mindless, entertaining, numb reactions, but actually useful and valuable to y'all's lives. And always stay pumped. Always. Did some quads today. Definitely felt it. All right. Catch y'all later. You know what time it is? Time for the outro.